This weekend will be our first Adversaries event. Let's get into it. I'm Professorvoqas, and this is Harry Potter Wizards Unite.
Hello, Professor. I didn't see you there.
As most of you have probably figured out and probably experimented with, little adversaries, of course, have been released in Wizards Unite, and this event also got put on the docket for this Friday through Monday. It's the same hours as like a Wizarding weekend, December 18th through the 20th, 11 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. One small piece of news that did kind of get announced on the side is that these adversary weekends will be replacing Wizarding weekends. So there'll be no more Wizarding weekends of the type we've had in the past. Now it will be an adversary weekend. Let's get into some of the smaller details of the event, the things that are just going to be like ongoing as opposed to the tasks or the bundles and stuff like that. So it is going to revolve around Draco and Fenrir, which are not lethal adversaries. It would appear that there will be no lethal adversaries for this very first event. It will be more of an introduction. So both of these guys are feared adversaries, and even within the feared adversaries, I would say they're a little bit easier, which makes sense for the first event. They're trying to introduce it, so these should be easier to defeat. The guards are reasonably easy to get through for any of the adversaries, but these two don't hit as hard. They're easy to target, so hopefully are not going to be too potion intensive. Speaking of potions, they are trying to help us out a little, at least this weekend, and I've had this trouble if you've watched my videos, is finding ingredients, specifically ginger root and armadillo bile, for wit sharpening potions. Well, all 4 ingredients will be increased for wit sharpening potions specifically. Specifically, that would be armadillo bile, ginger root, a ground scarab beetle, and newt spleen. So I would try to, at least my first bit of advice is wit sharpenings are useful. Try not to use too many of them. For me, it's been trying to use 1 on that third foe, that final feared adversary. I've been trying to use 1 right at the beginning to kind of get you a head start. But it's on the Ukrainians, Ukrainian Iron Belly, the Norwegian Ridgeback, though the dragons tend to be more difficult in Narcissa, so then you could use 2 to at least speed things up, or you're going to need to use more healing pots to be able to keep fighting without getting knocked out. So I would say maybe clear some ingredient space or brew some potions and make some space so that you can pick up more of this. The good thing is you should be able to use it as you get it, because they are actually making master notes reduce the brew time by 50% of 4 potions, which is the Extimulo, Strong Extimulo, Potent Extimulo, and the Wit Sharpening, which generally those are the 4 potions you're needing to use against some of these third adversaries, in addition to healing potions, which they're not increasing that, but these 4, you should be able to use the master notes and it'll reduce it by 50%. So as you get those wit sharpening ingredients, you can go ahead and start brewing them throughout the whole weekend, really. And I would suggest that as you get it, focus more on brewing that than anything else. Lastly, and I say it's unrelated, but we'll talk about why they're probably doing this, is if you use any of the 10 runestones of your normal registry, any of the 10 runestones, if you use it in Forest Chamber 4 or higher, you will be guaranteed a fragment from that family. Now, guaranteeing the fragment from the family really doesn't help us in any specific way with adversaries. That's just helping us fill out the registry. But going to those higher chambers, it just means we're going to be running them more often, which means we'll have a chance at spellbooks. We're going to be getting challenge experience, which will let us rank up, get spellbooks, and then the spellbooks, if you still need them, are going to help you fill out the new combat training tree. So for someone like me, I still need, I think, 400 books to finish the whole thing, and a bunch of Defense Against Dark Arts books. It would also potentially give you something to do in between adversary fights, as you could run some fortresses while you're going around still trying to find adversaries to fight, although hopefully they will be plentifully spawned enough. For the last many guides, I've stopped talking about the bundles, mainly because they hadn't changed anything. But this event, since it does have some new bundles, I did want to talk about what you can get for free and to make sure to go get your free bundle, and then also what they're offering in the way of bundles otherwise that will help with gameplay to an extent. It will speed up some things based on getting the edible dark marks that are going to be available in these bundles. So let's talk about the Adversary Starter Kit, which is the free bundle that will be available during the whole event. You just simply need to go to the Diagon Alley and claim it. It comes with 1 edible dark mark, 2 healing potions, 1 Extimulo Potion, and then 30 Spell Energy. All of which are going to be useful during adversary battles. The Dark Mark certainly when you're maybe at home and you can't get them to spawn, so you can go ahead and eat that, and go ahead and get those 3 over 30 minutes, 1 every 10 minutes. And then Spell Energy, always useful, especially adversary battles drain it a bit, so make sure you go claim that. Next up is the Arresto Adversary Bundle. Arresto just meaning to like stop something, like when Harry was falling out of the sky, and Arresto Momentum was what Dumbledore, I think, cast to save him from the when the Death Eaters came in. It was in Prisoner of Azkaban. But anyway, I digress. Arresto Bundle is going to have 3 edible Dark Mark and 125 Spell Energy for 800 coins. So again, the Spell Energy, I mean, if you're at home, that might be super useful, but that's something we can get for free anyway. So really, you're paying that 800 is getting you those 3 edible Dark Marks. And in the shop, the same amount of Dark Marks would be slightly less, but you wouldn't have the Spell Energy. So I'm not sure if this bundle's worth it. Don't forget, edible Dark Marks do drop from adversaries / guards. There's a possibility that they can drop. I've gotten 1 so far out of 6 or 5 battles. Out of 5 battles, I've gotten 1 to drop from a guard, which doesn't mean 1 out of every 5. That's just been my personal experience. We're still trying to get the data on how often that reward drops. Last up is the Adversary Vanquisher Trunk, which costs, very, very interestingly, 2,020 coins, 2020. A year I'm sure a lot of us would like to forget. A number we would probably all like to forget. But anyway, it does cost 20 coins. It does come with a lot of stuff. It comes with 5 edible Dark Mark, 125 Spell Energy, 10 Potent Extimulo Potions, 5 Witch Sharpening Potions, and 5 Healing Potions, which honestly, that almost seems to be you're getting 5 edible Dark Marks, and they're almost giving you the potions to kind of handle 5 adversaries through that. Now, obviously, each edible Dark Mark is going to get you 3, but everything else, it's about how much you would use for 5 adversaries, except for the 125 Spell Energy. You might use that much, actually. I take it back. So it does seem to be set up to really make it so that you buy this package and you can do a bunch of adversary battles. Although 2,020 coins, that's more than I have, so probably not one I'll be getting. Moving on to the tasks themselves, the first thing you're going to need to do is defeat 35 foes in Wizarding Challenges. It gets you 2 strong Extimulo Potion. Next up is to find 3 Wit Sharpening Gifts, which does get you a Wit Sharpening Potion. Now, I did see a little bit of back and forth between some official sources and the community asking about that. How hard is it going to be to get these? Witch Sharpening Gifts should be dropping from the night bus during this at an increased rate, so we should have an easier time getting this as opposed to kind of the normal rate, which for me, again, has not been a lot. I think I've gotten maybe 1 or 2 over the past 2 or 3 days of just, hitting greenhouses and hints and that kind of thing. So it is supposed to be an increased rate of Witch Sharpening Gifts, so then you can give them to your friends, and hopefully you'll be receiving some too, so we can all load up on a lot of Witch Sharpening Potions throughout the weekend to help us fight these adversaries. Next is to use 1 edible Dark Mark. It's going to get us 2 Armadillo Bile. And as I was going top to bottom, I'm like, what if somebody doesn't have one? I was like, that's kind of a bummer of a task. But then I looked at the one right below it, which is to earn 1,500 challenge experience, not wizarding experience, challenge experience from challenges, the night bus, or from adversary chains, and that actually gets you an edible Dark Mark, so then you could go use it for that step. So they're giving us a reward, and then we just need to use it, which is fine. They've given us the tools we need. Now, I will say adversary chains don't offer a lot of challenge experience. My recommendation would definitely be to go to the fortresses. You're going to need to defeat 35 foes anyway, so you'll probably get it from that. The bonus little bits you get from the adversary chains will help you get there, but I wouldn't make that your prime focus. You're going to get more from fortresses. And keep in mind that Barufios does not double challenge experience, so having a Barufios on is not going to help you meet this goal any faster. Next up is to use 7 strong Extimulo Potions in adversary combat, which is going to get you 20 spell energy. Keep in mind, I think that would count for the guards as well as just during that chain using the strong Extimulos. So another thing you're probably going to want to do is maybe stock up on some strong Extimulos. If you do need to brew them, don't forget, over the weekend, it will be a 50% reduction in the time it takes. You should essentially only need 5 because if you defeat the 35 foes in combat, they're going to give you 2 strong Extimulos, so you can use those if you don't have them, which would mean just run fortresses first, get that out of the way, and then work on adversaries. so that you can complete this step. Next is use 3 wit sharpening potions in adversary combat specifically, not in the fortresses. It won't count. It's got to be during adversary. Like I said, that third adversary, a lot of times a wit sharpening does help out for sure. That's going to get you 4 healing potions. Now keep in mind, they're giving you 1 wit sharpening as a reward from one of the previous tasks, and hopefully you can maybe receive some wit sharpening gifts from other people. That would be the easiest ways to get some wit sharpening gifts from other people. If you already have wit sharpening gifts or wit sharpening potions, just save them for this step, and keep in mind the ingredients are spawning on the ground more plentifully for wit sharpening potions. The master notes are going to reduce by 50%, and we have the whole weekend. It's not like a community day where we're condensed. So even if you needed to, I think you could get the ingredients for it and then go ahead and brew it at that point. But again, getting those gifts would be the easiest way. In addition, it's going to be the easiest way for your friends, so do them a favor and send them wit sharpening gifts. Next up is to deal 6,000 damage to adversaries. You can't specifically go out of your way. You just need to go defeat adversaries and you'll meet this requirement. You're going to get 1 defense against Dark Art book for this, which is nice. Last up is to return 20 artifact fragments from the Draco or Fenrir chain, and that's going to get you 2 defense against the Dark Arts books. Now, when I first saw this, I'm like, what does that even mean? But I kind of did figure it out. When you go to the registry, on Draco's page, there's the things around him, the fragments you can gather from beating him. And then on the Fenrir page, same thing. There's artifacts around him. There's fragments that you get. It's any of those fragments. The way to do this, essentially, just go do the chains. You're going to get the fragments. They'll build up. You're just going to have to get a certain number of adversary battles before you build up to 20 fragments. But you're awarded fragments for each time, so it will build up. Just fight adversaries throughout the weekend, and this step will take care of itself. If you complete all the tasks, you will end up getting 5 more defense against Dark Arts books, 1 edible Dark Mark, 60 gold coins, 500 wizarding experience, and 30 spell energy, which will help to replenish some of the energy you've probably lost from fighting so many adversaries. I jumped over to the challenge registry real quickly to show you. So on the Draco page here, well, actually, let's go to the Fenrir page. He's right below it. So these are the 2 easiest, because top to bottom it goes easier to hardest. So that's why this opening weekend is definitely very much an introduction and trying to make it a little bit easier for people. So when I click on, I don't know, let's just click over here. The Fenrir's / Death Eater robes, I have 1 out of 15. That's one of those 20 fragments, just as an example. So one thing this weekend should do for us, hopefully, if we fight enough things, like if I fight enough Fenrir, say I have 2 out of 9. If I get 7 more, I can place his image. And when I place his image, I'm going to get 80 challenge experience. But I'm also going to get 4 defense against the Dark Arts books. So it's just a good way to start building up more defense against the Dark Arts books. One last thing I want to mention / still ask about, because I mentioned it in yesterday's video and somebody even commented about it. But I guess based on what I'm seeing in my advanced adversarial combat tree, is I filled up the one side. I have my precision side. And I talked about that the lower part of the tree, starting with Think Fast, the lethal adversary nodes, that they hadn't unlocked yet because there's still a lock on it. And somebody said, well, maybe it's because I don't have the, the correct books for it, which I don't. But I look at the top of the other tree, which is starting with Can't Touch This, which is the dodge ones. And I don't have the books for this either. I don't have the proper books. But when I look at the symbol, it doesn't have the lock on it. Meaning, hey, it's unlocked. You could do this, but you just don't have the books. That's why it's grayed out. Whereas the one for the lethal is both grayed out, meaning I don't have the books for it, but it also still has the lock symbol, which usually means, hey, you couldn't even do this if you did. So I'm still curious, is the iconography off, or do you really need to do both sides? Again, if somebody's done this, if you've already unlocked this, or had the resources, did you need to do both sides? It seems like you need to, or else the lock would be removed, and I could actually at least click on it and see that I don't have the books, much like the other side. That is going to do it for this guide. Again, the only thing I can think of to prep is maybe have those strong extimulos ready and maybe some wit sharpenings. But you might even want to wait to brew them, because you do have time. If you just want to wait till Friday when this event starts, you could have all the ingredients and then get that 50% brew time. But if you're brewing potions for the next couple days anyway, might as well get those out of the way. I am really looking forward to this event. I definitely plan at going at it pretty hardcore. Definitely going to go to an area where I can replenish my energy, because I feel like that's the main thing I lose that I have to really replace to be able to keep fighting adversaries. And I hope the spawn rate of the adversaries is at a level where you never feel like you're going 30 minutes waiting without using edible dark marks, obviously. As always, thank you guys for watching this guide, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Nox.